Al Jazeera's Tony Birtley is in Delhi. He says the citizenship law is becoming an increasingly divisive issue.
The major violence seems to have stopped, at least for now, and now they're assessing the damage, as you can see, quite extensive in this part, but also the human cost. The death casualty figures are going up by the hour almost, and something like 250 people have been injured and killed, and now there's a mop-up operation. It's been appeased really because of women who were decided to stop their protest in Jafrabad at a station after intense provocation by Hindu nationalists. Now, that violence has been some of the worst that Delhi has seen in decades, and the casualties show that. So there's a big, deep-rooted problem that has now overshadowed what this whole matter was about. This was about civil rights over the Citizens Amendment Act, but it's become, in northeast Delhi, something about religion between Muslims and Hindus, and that's not how it was. This whole protest movement began because of across the board, all religious denominations, all minorities protesting about this new law, which they say was racist. Now, the problem is now this is being used as a kind of victory now by some of the Hindu nationalists. They said they wanted these women to be moved. They were moved. And now it sets a dangerous precedent. What will happen in future if there's another protest? Will they do the same thing? Violence seems to work. Now, we've had nothing from the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, until today, 3 days after this whole thing started. And he's calling for calm, he's calling for peace and harmony. Well, there's been no peace and harmony here, quite the reverse. The problem is, how can they rebuild now from this? How can they regain the trust? If you look at this damage, it's superficial compared to the deep-rooted scars. We've spoken to people who've lost their loved ones, Hindus and Muslims. They have suffered, their ones have been killed. We don't know exactly who was responsible for the killings. Most of the people seem to be killed by gunshot wounds, but some also have been stoned and beaten to the point where their injuries meant they died. So we don't know what the situation is. There needs to be an inquiry. Human rights activists are calling for the government to actually take deeper, stronger measures to find out the root causes of this and find the people who were responsible and bring them to justice. That may be one of the first steps needed to bringing these communities together again.
The Delhi police have been criticised for its role in the handling of the violence. Critics say that's because the force is not accountable to the Delhi government. The central government controls the police force in Delhi. The local government has no power over law and order. The political divide in Delhi is also adding to the tensions. At the moment, Modi's BJP is the party in power in the national government. The AAP, or Common Man Party, runs the local government in Delhi. The two parties have clashed in the past over control of the Delhi police. Javed Ansari is a political analyst based in New Delhi. He says the signs of an escalation were there from the beginning and violence could have been prevented.
The signs were there since for ages, inflammatory speeches. There was a build-up in the run-up to the elections, and then thereafter some very inflammatory anti-Muslim speeches given by none other than some members of the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, and precious little was done to curb this. Had the union government acted in time, this could have been prevented. The union government, for reasons best known to themselves, chose to look the other way while parts of Delhi were burning and and the two communities were going hammer and tongs at each other. It's only after the courts intervened on the third day did the union government act and send the National Security Advisor and send the requisite number of paramilitary to try and take control of the situation. Had this been done earlier, had those who were making inflammatory speeches held accountable, perhaps this day would not have come to pass.
Still ahead on Al Jazeera.